With our fifth interview with Tucker Arensberg.
Arensberg.
I was close. Sorry, Tucker Arensberg.
So you folks have spent the last 2 nights talking to lawyers, huh?
Just one. One marathon
all in one night.
God bless you. So I guess it's a form of social isolation. Thanks for having us. My name is Matt Hoffman, and this is my colleague, Chris Volz. We're from the law firm of Tucker Arensberg. And we thank you for inviting us this evening. We're thrilled to have you consider us providing legal services to you. And I'm sorry, now you've got situated that way. I'm going to give you a brief overview of our firm, Chris and I, and then I understand you folks would have questions and do our best to answer them for you. So let me tell you a little bit about our firm. We are located in Pittsburgh. Our firm is 75 lawyers. And within that group of 75 lawyers, we have a school municipal group. And we represent about 20 municipalities, 15 school districts. And that group of 16, we spend most of our time in that area of practice. So we're very familiar with the things that are common to public entities. Sunshine law, right to know law, Ethics Act, those sort of things, and we'll talk about those briefly in a little while. And as solicitors for those entities, of course, we provide a full array of services to our clients. The thing that makes us different from the other folks that you're talking to, and they're all good lawyers. I don't know who the local folks are. We're familiar with the Malo firm. We saw Bill and Trish on our way in and their way out. All good lawyers. What makes us different is we have lawyers that do things other than school law. And that is very important in terms of servicing our clients. And again, I'll talk to you a little bit about that. We think it provides value, both in terms of expertise as well as efficiency in dealing with your legal issues. So, again, we represent school districts. We do the full array of school law, the things that we handle, common contracts, policies, things that you would expect any solicitor to do. As I mentioned, right to know law, we do a lot of work with that. Chris, and I don't want to take away any of his thunder, he has a right to know law blog that is accessed continuously by people that are looking for guidance in that area of the law. Again, Ethics Act, Sunshine Law, things of that sort we're very familiar with. We work with our clients all the time. And a lot of lawyers can look at that kind of stuff and, and handle it, but it's statutory. Contract is a contract in general. But of course, as you know, schools are a unique creature, and there's a lot of unique issues that experience in school law is very important. I listed up here the First and Fourth Amendment. That involves obviously freedom of expression by students, by staff in your schools. Fourth Amendment, of course, dealing with searches, when you can search students, when you can search adults, that sort of thing. Those are constitutional issues that are implicated in this context. Title IX, which is the gender non-discrimination statute, an equity statute. We do a lot of work with student confidentiality, student information confidentiality, dealing with the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. Of course, we get involved with all aspects of student discipline, expulsions, and things of that sort. Going back again to why we're a little bit different, as I said, people that do things that most school lawyers don't do. One of those things is intellectual property rights. Today's with the internet, a lot of people think, well, if it's on the internet, right, I can use it and I can post it to my classroom page and et cetera, and use it as they deem desire to. Of course, that's not what the law is. And we have intellectual property right lawyers that are very familiar with that ground. In fact, we have had a lot of interesting matters arise that we've asked them to handle. One of the districts we represent, for example, it's Freeport, their mascot is the Yellow Jacket. And we got into a dispute with Georgia Tech University because they're the Yellow Jackets, and they thought our Yellow Jacket looked a little too much like their Yellow Jacket. Again, we had a lawyer in our office that handled that, and we were able to prove that actually Freeport's Yellow Jacket preceded Georgia Tech's. So,
Georgia Tech
Yes, it did.
literally came after little old Freeport.
Freeport School District, that they did, and we swatted their jacket away.
That's good.
Social media, another aspect that is, burgeoning, both, obviously students' use of it, staff use of it, and again, it gets into sometimes intellectual property issues, something that, again, our folks, I'm not an intellectual property rights lawyer, they can handle that without having to learn the lay of the land. They already know it. Personnel matters, of course, we handle all aspects of that through everyday issues with employees, both unionized and non-unionized, involving the full array of disciplinary actions, suspensions, reprimands, terminations. We get involved obviously with the grievances. I do a lot of collective bargaining. Bob McTiernan in our office, does a lot of collective bargaining, both of support and professional units. I think I'm doing 3 at the moment. Again, we're very well versed with that, and again, all of the things that weigh upon personnel matters. I've listed a few there. Obviously, the discrimination laws, Veterans Preference Act, things of that sort. When I'm not playing school lawyer, I'm a construction lawyer, so I do a lot of work in that arena, dealing with both drafting contracts, negotiating construction contracts, dealing with a variety of claims, delay claims, scope disputes involving change orders. I don't know whether you have any construction in the past or looking forward, but we have in Pennsylvania, of course, the requirement that you're awarding contracts to the lowest responsible bidders if you're bidding the project. You have the Separations Act, which requires multiple prime contracts for electrical, HVAC. I refer to that as the Full Employment for Lawyers Act because it just is inherently leads to disputes. And again, we're well versed in that. Next slide. We do property and finance, tax assessment appeals, and we get involved with tax exemption petitions. If you are doing LERTAs, TIFs, things of that sort, we've got people that do that. I don't do that, Chris doesn't do it, but we have people that are very well familiar with that. Special needs students. That's your special education requirements, whether it's IDEA or Section 504. Of course, we work continuously with our clients on those issues. We attend IEP meetings to assist them whenever the families are represented by advocates. And unfortunately, we also get involved in due process hearings defending school districts whenever families are challenging the adequacy of an IEP or the educational programming being provided to the child. As to all those things, we are on the defense panels of most of the insurers. CM Regent and Utica National are the 2 primary folks that insure school districts in the area, and we're on those panels, so we're able to assist our clients sometimes leading up to litigation, and then if they find themselves in litigation, we can continue to work through the insurance company. So again, why us? What distinguishes us? 2 things I want to emphasize: the depth and the breadth of our experience. Depth, as I said, we've got 17 lawyers that work in this area of school municipal law. We've got, unfortunately, I shouldn't say unfortunately, including myself, I think we have 5 that have over 30 years of experience. And we have a deep bench of people that work in this area and know the law. As I said, what also distinguishes us are these other areas of expertise. I mentioned intellectual property rights. We have bankruptcy lawyers, workers' comp lawyers, people that do unemployment compensation, zoning and real estate. Again, our firm represents, not only schools and municipalities, but counties, businesses. So again, the lawyers in our office have a variety of expertise that we can bring to bear for our school clients. And what that means for you primarily is, number one, you're getting good advice. You're getting advice from people that are experienced in the area of the law that you're being advised upon. So if, again, you're with some other firm that doesn't have that expertise, they've got to sort of do some research and figure it out. Our folks know it, they know it front and back. So, there's no guessing involved, there's no stretching of expertise. Secondly, because of the depth and breadth of our experience, we work efficiently for our clients. And that ultimately results in a lesser legal expenditure and more value for your legal dollar whenever you're paying your lawyers. You can pay somebody $100 an hour, but if it takes them 2 hours to do what we do in an hour at a higher rate, you're going to be paying them more than you're going to be paying us. So again, I can't emphasize enough the breadth and depth of our experiences, what sets us apart. Our approach, if you can go to the next slide, Chris. We view ourselves as a resource to your administration and to you as a board. Our goal is to put you in the best position, an informed position to make good decisions. We don't make them for you. That's not our job. You folks run the place. You know your district more than anyone. So again, we view our goal as putting you in a position of making the best and informed decision that you can. Because we work in this area, we know where the risks are. We can predict for you outcomes of different courses of action. We can identify alternatives for you to consider. And again, we think that's all part of allowing you folks to make good decisions for your school district. I threw this quote up here because that's my favorite quote about lawyers. J.P. Morgan, I'll paraphrase, said, "I don't need a lawyer to tell me what I can't do. I need a lawyer to tell me how to do what I want to do." And that's sort of our approach. Again, we're always looking for alternatives, always looking for ways to help you get to where you want to be. I think I've already touched on that, so if you can move on. I'll tell you a little bit more about myself, and I'll give Chris a quick audience, and then you can question it. As I said, I've been doing this now for 35 years, representing school districts. I personally am the primary solicitor for, I think, 8 or 9 districts. Locally here, close to you, I work with Freedom School District, Seneca Valley, Shaler, and others. As I indicated, I do a lot of construction-related work for school clients and for all of our firm's clients. And I don't want to go on and on because I know I've been talking a while. So again, I also co-chair our school municipal group. We do publish through Tri-State Study Council and the University of Pittsburgh. We publish an education law newsletter on a quarterly basis. Thankfully, I'm regularly asked to speak at various conventions and seminars. And again, I've been doing this for a long time. It's in my blood. I enjoy it. And I'll, at this point, turn it over to Chris. Chris, if you can introduce yourself. And
absolutely. There's my brief summary, but thank you first and foremost for having us here tonight. It's been a pleasure to come out and meet everybody. My name's Chris Volz. I have been with the firm and focusing my practice of law in school and municipal matters for 8 years now. During that time, I've attended countless meetings on behalf of the school's clients and formed direct relationships with many of our school client administrators and board members where they are comfortable enough just to call me directly on any area that I have some particular expertise on. Matt mentioned that a lot of school districts now, ever since the Right to Know law was enacted 10 years ago, the revised version, it's become a big issue that a lot of school districts have to deal with. And it's one that, frankly, no one really likes having to deal with because it takes time, money, and expense to go through records and gather what is a public record and not. And there's also some pitfalls, too, because you want to be open, you want to be transparent, but when you're dealing with children, when you're dealing with employment matters, there's a lot of stuff you just cannot give up. So what we've done is that I've generally accumulated a lot of decisions by the Office of Open Records and just kind of created a database for my own reference. So if something comes up, it's up to like 200 pages now. just type in a keyword, and if, sure enough, the Office of Open Records has ever ruled on it, you know, we know it and can get it just like that. To aid our clients and others, I've also created a blog. It's up to about 40 posts right now, with an aim to guiding the Open Records officer and how to respond to a request. You know, what are your obligations to ask people for things? What are your timelines? What can't you give up? What can you give up? And that's just one of the areas that I've kind of developed a specialty to. Some of our other issues, assist our districts with tax appeals and tax exemption status. Typically, continuing care retirement homes are on the verge of a lot of people, you know, a lot expensive price tags to get in there, but they're claiming to be an institution of purely public charity. So Matt referenced that, you know, we have a very deep bench when it comes to school law. We have monthly meetings with our school and municipal group, kind of discuss issues that are coming up, and it's really fascinating to hear collectively probably 100 years of experience, and you just come up with new ideas and great ways to solve problems. So with that, you know, be happy to answer any questions you may have, and you know, again, thanks for having us.
I have a question. To start off, a hard one. Didn't Gavin Robb go to Beaver?
He did.
He did.
It's not on there.
I knew that. Okay, all right, so that's an easy one.
95.
And Gavin's part of our group. He works regularly with schools and municipalities. Maybe we could convince him to come here occasionally.
Did he say, oh, not with that board, I'm not gonna go there.
I think he was a year or two ago.
All right, questions?
Chris,
Aaron?
can you demonstrate a circumstance which you had to advocate a position for your client that contradicts your personal beliefs?
That's a good question. I mean, one of the issues, and what Matt and I try to do, and everybody at our firm, is give the school district options of how they want to proceed. Generally, our personal opinions, we don't share those with the board. We kind of try to keep that separate and to ourselves and look at the law and give them choices for them to make. Off the top of my head, I can't think of anything when I've advised something that I was morally opposed to, if that makes sense. So I can't think of anything where a board wanted to do something that I was morally against.
There are times where clients will do things contrary to our advice, which is their prerogative. They're the client. And if they do that, then you know, we'll do everything ethically we can to defend them. But like Chris, I can't think of any time that a client has done something that offends my personal beliefs. I don't take offense if you don't want to follow my advice. I mean, you're free to accept it or reject it. And as I said, if you go a different path, again, within the confines of ethics, we'll defend it.
Thanks, Matt. And Matt and Chris, who would be most likely to attend the meetings on a regular basis?
I would primarily be here for your legislative meetings,
Okay.
and Chris and I would share the, do you have your solicitor attend your planning meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We would share that, and obviously, I mean, between Chris and I, we would be the two primary contacts.
Thank you.
All right, I have a hypothetical question for you. At last week's home football game, 2 members of the football team, a drummer in the band, and an assistant coach all took a knee during the national anthem. The board and the superintendent are being urged to do something about this. What is your advice?
My advice would be that those folks have the First Amendment. Well, let me qualify that. The student has a First Amendment right. I would not counsel that you could do anything with the student. The coach, is that the second part of your
Assistant
example?
coach, yep.
Is acting in the capacity of an employee. And I think I would advise that you do have the right as the employer to establish a standard of conduct and as to what it is that you expect of them while acting in the capacity. of a school employee. So if that assistant coach was assistant football coach,
Yep.
I think as a district, you have the right to tell that person, we expect you as a representative of Beaver Area School District when the national anthem is playing, so you're gonna stand. I don't, again, that's different from the student who has that First Amendment right to express him or herself by taking the knee.
Thank you.
I'm good. I'm not gonna take it a step further. I think I got my answer. I will ask you a different question though. Describe how you have established a culture at your firm in which uncompromising integrity is the norm.
Take a shot at that?
Yeah, I do. I think we've found that if you try to give answers to make people happy, you're gonna tie yourself in knots. You know, you're gonna by making these people happy, you're gonna make this group mad. By making this group mad, you're gonna make this group happy. It's easier to just give straight, your true legal opinion of the proper way to proceed. And as long as you keep that norm, people will know you're consistent, people will know you're not playing favorites, and people will know that you're a straight shooter. So that is what we did. We give our advice and let the chips fall where they may, because we ultimately trust that our clients aren't hiring us to make them necessarily pleased all the time, but honest and straightforward advice.
And I would add to that individually and collectively as a firm, our integrity and reputation is what we trade in. If we compromise that integrity, compromise that reputation, people aren't going to want to work with us. So, again, we'll give you we'll call balls and strikes. We'll give you our best advice, and what you do with that's up to you.
Okay. I'm going to steal another one. I think someone else might want to jump in. Describe what you have done in the past that demonstrates your interest in better understanding your clients.
Couple things. Number one, as I said, we represent school districts, regularly. That gives us a basic basis of knowledge. But every school district is different. And to gain that understanding of the culture, of the practices, that can only come through time, working with you folks as a board, working with your administrators. And, again, trying to gain an understanding in order to respect those practices and that culture, so that, we honor it and we're consistent with it. We provide a lot of training for our clients, where we work collectively with your administration in terms of what are issues that you run into with your staff, or does your staff need a reminder on law, on legal issues. And again, we consider ourselves to be part of a team with our clients. And so that's sort of the attitude that we approach it with.
Yeah, and just to add to that, for some of our clients, every year we will go through all of their policies, or their important policies, with their administration, all the principals, all the IT department. And it helps to update everybody about what the requirements are, but also you put names to faces. So when someone calls you, you know who they are, and you get a bit of familiarity with them. And I think that has been invaluable, because I know the IT guy for this one district, and he called today asking a question about whether they could stream their plays without doing any copyright violations. I knew who Chris was, and I was able to say, we have an IT person who can answer that. And we got him an answer right away.
I have one district that brings me in every year to meet with their administrative team without an agenda. They tell their administrators, bring your questions. We're going to bring the solicitor in for 2 hours. Kind of like this, where we get grilled, we talk and collaborate. And to me, that's an enjoyable and interesting session, because again, you get from the individual administrators at the building level, at the central office level, you get a feel for what they're dealing with, what's important to them, where they need help.
Thank you. 2 questions. What's the industry norm for communication response times for you guys, for in the legal field, and what's your expectation for response times?
Ours is same day.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know what the industry norm is. We pride ourselves on responsiveness. You know, if somebody sends us an email or leaves us a phone message, as Chris said, our goal is to get back to you that day. And even if it's, you know, hey, we can't get back to you, we can't talk to you in depth until tomorrow. I want to add that our staff, our secretarial staff is very good. My secretary has as good a relationship with my clients as actually we have the same secretary. She has as good a relationship with our clients as we do. And sometimes they'll call and they'll talk with her for 5 minutes before they get to me. You know, she knows if I'm in court, she'll ask, is this anything urgent? Can I direct you to Chris or Bob or somebody else in the firm? So, you know, again, obviously there are times when we're unavailable, but when that happens, you know, first order, the first safety net is our secretaries. And beyond that, we look to get back to folks, either to tell you, hey, we'll call you tomorrow, we'll email you tomorrow, whatever the case may be. So we may not be able to respond to you that day, but certainly we want to acknowledge that you're looking for information, looking to contact us.
And certainly if it's urgent, if it's something that is an emergency, strings will be pulled to get you an answer when you need it.
Okay.
That was my question.
It's not yet. What the get back to you that day is the bare minimum. I mean, that's the least we do. But
Final question for me. What, was someone gonna?
Nope, you're good, go.
Final question for me. If we
He's
wanted
kidding
to,
about that, there's 3 more.
at least, as counsel, how would you have advised us if we wanted to hold these interviews behind closed doors? Would you have advised us against it?
The Sunshine Law allows executive session for the hiring of employees. I don't think solicitors are employees. Now, I guess I need to qualify. In interview, I don't know that what we're doing right now qualifies as deliberation. Selecting who your solicitor is, I think that is deliberation. So you could probably make the case that interviews in and of themselves don't need to be done in public, but the deliberation should be. That's how I would advise you.
Thank you. I'm done, I promise. I'm done.
I keep looking to the right, and ignoring everybody here to the left.
I talk a lot. It's a problem I have.
Any other questions?
What did you say?
You said you're allowed to talk next meeting. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Very
much.
much appreciate it.
Thank you all. And again, we express our gratitude for you considering us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have a good night.